PlayStation 5. And it's after the launch, the PlayStation improved the system through updates, improving SSD expansion support. They later gave out the option for you to use the NVMe expansion slot that was built into the console. I don't know why it was turned off at launch. It's a little bad move, but in 2021 that allowed you to do that. And then first party games started to slowly trickle and roll out. You had your Ratchet and Clank, you had Returnal. Ugh. But also, you had widespread shortages. We also did talk about that. 2021 and years leading into it, you still couldn't get a hold of a PS5. You just really could. But slowly but surely, Sony started to course correct, I guess that's the best term, with updates, making the system more stable, pushing out those little quirks, stability, especially with that, as we said, rest mode. In 22, they made a bigger push towards cross-gen, even though Microsoft had to kind of drag them through that. More major first-party games started to come out. Gran Turismo.
No, I was about to say.
Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, Ragnarok. They added VRR to the system, variable refresh rate. Sony shifts into the PlayStation Stars and the new PlayStation Plus tiers in 22. And then, just a few notable things. They kind of started to try to expand the horizons. The system went along. In 23, they the supply problem got solved. The library expanded. They got more we'll say more bigger and bolder in their scope. The Pro started to come out. They revisioned the system.
Disgusting.
The quote-unquote slimmer model, which really was not that slim. PS VR2, PS Portal, the revision of the DualSense went on. And then, of course, and then bigger games, more exclusives. Like I said, your Ragnarok, Ratchet and Clank, Horizon. So they started entering more performance modes that became standard of 40 FPS, 120 hertz. And I'm gonna speak for me personally. I felt that was a slap in the face. This 40 FPS bullshit, because before these consoles launched, they were so gung-ho on 60 FPS, because I'm like, the last gen, you barely could get 60 FPS at 1080. So how you gonna get it at 4K if you ain't get it at 1080?
Make it
Now,
make sense.
if they would have been like, hey, we're gonna go for 60 at 1440, all right, cool. But I don't understand how you won't solve one problem before jumping to the next. But hey, I'm just saying. The PS5 Slim model came out. We talked about that. The Pro model came out, which, let me just say, the PS5 Pro,
disgusting.
It's not worth it. It is not the leap and bounds like the PS4 Pro was. It's just not. And even though Sony kind of went backwards, because at the beginning of the launch, I did miss this. They said they believed in generations, but as the adoption rate of PS5s being as big as they wanted it to be, and with the supply shortages, going on, every PS5 only game became a PS4 and PS5 game. To some degree, people feel that held them back a bit. Others, me, I understand it. You don't want to leave behind such a huge audience for the smaller growing one. You said what you said. But as time went on, Sony got better with their hardware refreshes, more updates, more quality of life, more changes to the UI. They never added folders, which I don't know why. We are still waiting for that.
So fucking annoying.
5 years later, we're still waiting on that. I just don't understand it. But
Sony for that.
They came out with more bigger exclusives. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. That was a nice one. People did love and enjoy. My cousin, you already know how she feels about that. Rise of the Ronin, Stellar
Bland
Blade,
story.
Final Fantasy Rebirth, Astrobot. These are just titles that came out along the years that they just kept pushing and just made the console sell more and more. PlayStation Portal. Now, my cousin thinks I'm crazy and whatnot, but I received the Portal as a gift, and I will say the Portal is something special. It is a stepping stone of what a true PlayStation handheld could be, and we have talked before about the PS6 and this so-called handheld. And it's nice. I get what it is, and in my current predicament, I do use it and utilize it. Anywho, Chase, how did you feel about the wonder years of PlayStation? From its initial launch to ongoing to now?
Yeah, so out of all the titles, God of War, I do not like Horizon Zero Dawn. I think it's bland ass story. I think from its exception, it's been a bland ass story. The Spider-Man 2 bland ass story. A lot of like I said, I'm still in this time period up until maybe a year ago. I'm still playing Ghost of Tsushima like it's fresh out the box. So a lot of this shit, like I said, God of War. Yeah, some of these titles just is a no. A lot of Sony's first person
First
franchises are
party.
just bland as storytelling. Yeah, I feel like you start to see, not to bring Nintendo in this, but you start to see you start seeing how like-minded Sony and Nintendo is kind of. They just want to rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And yeah, that's my issue with Sony in its wonder years. I feel like their writers and storytelling has not elevated, enough for me personally. I'm not saying I've played every first person first party title out there that's came out on the system. I'm not gonna lie and say I did, but like Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, just to name a few, bland. Next, whatever.
I don't know what is wrong with you. I love
Anyway,
Horizon Zero Dawn.
cause you simping, you a pony. I'm sorry, I just learned that people call simping PlayStation fans pony, and I just can't get it out of my head. Anyway, the VR system, I don't invest in VR. I think it's way too early. It's not enough, I guess, brain capacity spent on these gaming companies to make the VR headset ever worth it. And yeah, so I don't fool with that. The little portable thing, I think my cousin is very simping on. It's like, bruh, why? Like you
How?
have a PlayStation system and a TV. Like, but anyway, I've argued the handheld and why it's not for me. I don't have to go back and retell that story. But I just want to point out the Slim PS5. I recently went to a friend's house, and they had it, and I touched it. It just feels very, very cheap. Very, very plasticky. And I know people are gonna say, the PS5 was always plastic. No, it's different. It's very much cheap material. And I don't believe in the Pro, because you're not gonna sell me a disk drive attachment. So, fuck Sony and all that aspect right there. And, any of you pony people can get in the comments and argue me down. I'm not giving Sony any money off that bullshit. And yeah, so his Wonder Years was, I guess, just kind of how I feel about Xbox. It was fine. Like I said, me and my cousin did play a lot of the games, the co-op games on the system. So I'm grateful for that. But outside of that, I could care less. Like I said, I still have my original PlayStation. I think when we say this next generation of gaming, we do mean we're not gonna buy them at launch. Something crazy happens like COVID again. I don't see myself getting a PS6 because I don't think Sony's gonna give me a reason to. And like I stated with the Xbox, this was an inferior product. And I think, to what my cousin was saying, the reason why they was making these over promises and under delivering was because they was scared of how strong and how specced out the Xbox was before its release. You gotta think about like how these companies like kind of play this game of chicken, and they start seeing the Xbox is so strong, it's the most powerful, it's gonna be the most powerful. So they was over promising, and they couldn't deliver on a lot of the things that they promised. And it's still relevant to this day. Like, I mean, the PlayStation still is an inferior product, but you know what? It is sold almost 80 million fucking units. So hey, kudos to them, whatever. I hope they do better in the next gen. Not that I'm expecting the next gen. I don't want the next gen to happen for another three years or so. So it's fine. No, whatever. I think
It's decent.
my cousin over embellished the PS5 and some of the things they did, especially with the handheld shit. But whatever. It's his opinion. We're different in a lot of ways, in some ways, and sometimes we agree.
I
But
hear
we
you.
just disagree about some of the points on the Wonder Years in its
I get it.
titles, its product, and whatever.
We are at the PlayStation, 5 years on the market, many updates, still no folders, sales, price increases of the system. I mean, this is a very up fucking absurd generation where we're 5 years in and these consoles cost more than what they were originally when they came out. Highly crazy, but hey, that's just where we're at. Between Sony's and their exclusives, the revisions and everything, I'm gonna say it as I've said it before. This generation has been shit. It finally seems like it is really taken off, and these fucking companies have the nerve to talk about, oh, next generation. They make very nice looking games, but also, like my cousin admitted, you're starting to see the cracks in their idea, their ideology. You're starting to see the cookie cutter playbook they run with, because we talked about this off camera. Is PlayStation just selling you revenge and trauma stories over and over again? The Last of Us Part 2, that was a trauma revenge story. Ghost of Yote, that's a trauma revenge story. Even Returnal, even though you didn't like that game, that's a weird trauma, not a revenge story, but nonetheless, it's like, yo, what are you guys doing? It's been 5 nice years, and of course, I'm gonna add this: they put their games on disc. I just don't know. I can't stress how that affects me. But 5 years of PlayStation. What do you think? How do you feel? What do you see?
But yeah, so PS5 5-year anniversary, like I said earlier, they've sold over 80 million copies, not copies, units of the PS5. I think that includes the Pro because I couldn't find its own numbers. I don't think they really report on the Slim and the Pro sale numbers. I guess 5 years, it's been a hell of a ride start, especially how the release started. And, I guess if I had to put a letter grade, I'm gonna give them a B minus, honestly. Like I said,
Oh,
some of and it's really because Sony has planted their feet firmly on being first party, focus driven company. And I just think the first party franchises are kind of flat. They're kind of bland, they're kind of generic, and that's even with my love of Ghost of Tsushima and even the DLC and the online capabilities. That's not enough to raise it to even a B plus or a A. It had some issues since over these 5 years. They've done things I don't agree with. Not to bring light, but on the PS4, you could download your save to a USB. You cannot do that on the PS5. I don't
oh
agree with
damn! I
that.
totally forgot about that.
Some of the voice chat setting issues with the PlayStation 4 has carried over to the PS5. The folder issue, them not having themes. I don't understand how you don't build upon your software from the last generation. It's like they completely wipe and make it bare, and it's just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, we spent years getting to that point on that software on the PS4. How could you not have folders? Like, that's like I said, if I had to get a letter grade, it's a B minus. It's a above average. If I had to compare it to my 5 years with my first 5 years with my PS4, I think I'm gonna go with the PS4 for first 5 years over the PS5. And that's not even in counting how it was hard to get the Skype in. I'm not taking any of that to account. I'm just thinking about, my experience with playing some of the first party games and how I felt when I played them, the excitement I had when I played them with my cousin. It just didn't really carry over into this generation. And not saying, look, I don't know how long that the PS5 is going to be a thing before the next gen come out, but I just think it's a B minus. It's above average. It's been cool. It's had its ups, it had its downs. I think they spread themselves a little too thin with the VR and the portable shit and all that. I think I'm starting to see the very similarities in the business practices of Sony, and this is not a Nintendo video, but Sony and Nintendo, I'm starting to really see, oh, they are from Japan and they're very stubborn and they're very like tunnel vision in some of the things they do. And they like to rinse and repeat. And it's been noted that Sony doesn't really make that much money or making that much profit from their first party games. And there's a lot of speculation about having the Steam OS storefront, on the next systems. And, I'm not here to argue that. I don't know. All that's rumors right now, but B minus. First 5 year, B minus, above average. It's been cool. It's been an experience. I think I've had better experiences on other Sony hardware in the past. Now, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to be objective as possible. I'm not trying to be a pony like the Xbox fans call people, but it's been
Yeah.
above average. They sold 80 million units for a reason. I mean, it's going on. It could possibly eclipse 100 million units sold. So they've done something right. I don't agree with all the things they've done and all the things they've taken away because Having your saves on a USB, like, come on, bruh. Like, chill out. Just chill out. Chill out. That's neither here or there. You could disagree. You could say, hey, they had to do it for X, Y, and Z. I don't really care about X, Y, and Z. I'm just thinking about my experience.
Okay, I feel that. If I had to give it a letter grade, I would give it B minus on the verge of a C as well.
Ooh,
Not and the reason why I say that is
a
actually, you know what? I
C.
am gonna give it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C. And
Whoa,
I'm a
whoa, whoa. No, because that's
hold on.
crazy.
No,
Because you.
hold on. No, no, hold on. You know
All right.
why?
Okay.
I'm backing up. You made some compelling points, and you made me remember that. Yeah, so from the PS4 to the five, this has been a generation of
Downgrades in some cases.
downgrades in some cases. I don't know how it took to the end of the PS4 generation for folders and everything that they've learned throughout that to the five coming. It's like, yeah, it's like they pulled a NASA. Yeah, we destroyed that technology. You what? I don't see how it's the simplest things and organization of the four you all just don't do with the five. I understand that you had to pivot due to the COVID situation and everything. I understand you probably overinflated with all the high numbers of everyone being at home that year of 20 and 21. This generation has been a waste from them chasing
Ooh,
the
the live
live service
service shit.
trend.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
have
the live
canceled a
service
lot
kit.
of,
And
yeah.
then so many of those games got canceled, and we didn't
Yeah.
even see the fruit
Damn,
of that
yeah.
labor.
Yeah,
So
I can,
now all of your
yeah.
greatest studios have nothing to show, and everything that they're working on will either be at the tail end of the five or at the beginning of the six. And there was no need for that. You had the template and winning formula, and you choose to deviate so hard. Now I understand. We reports have come out that yes, Sony's margins are not that great. I even think Xbox margins are higher, but that also is a choice that you allow these devs to spend so much money. You could come in
Mhm.
and say, hey, makes the next game. This is your budget limit. Why is it taking 300 plus million for Marvel Spider-Man 2 when the first one did not do that? I'm going to say this again. No one is buying a game because of the way the light reflects off the puddles or peach fuzz on a character's face. At that point, you're not making the game for the consumer, you're making it for critics. And critics don't buy the games. They get the copies for free to review. So I'm gonna say
Mhm.
C. I'm gonna say C. Even though, yeah, it's a console that I play majority primary on, etc. But that doesn't mean that, hey, I need to simp for it because I am quick to, hey, do not defend these brands or these companies. They don't know you.
They don't care about you.
They don't know you. There's no one at Sony like, man, hey, there was a 16-year-old kid in Nebraska and he didn't buy our game because he felt our business practices. They're like, man, I don't give a fuck about that kid. what he what what he don't buy, somebody else will buy. They don't
Yeah.
care. And I
Eh
feel people get caught up in the brand loyalty. Oh, my memories.
Oh, they
Okay.
definitely do.
And
That's why
that's,
you're
that's why I
called a
said, you know
pony.
what? I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go for the full C, baby. You have games that are finally coming out now, and Sony has even come out and said, "Hey, we're gonna start sunsetting certain services, PS4 and etc." And I get it. You had to
Yeah,
still
about
cater to
time.
that market because there were more fours than there are fives on the market. I get that, but this generation is finally starting to take off of PS5 only games, PS5 games made from the ground up, and now you all are talking next gen. No, 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 no. You
Mm.
will not rush to hit my pockets again to erase your failure. So I can say, yes, could they do better? And they can. Will they? Probably not. Because as my cousin has stated on many episodes, something big is coming. And we're already seeing it. There is belt tightening, bootstrapping, wallet closing going on in gaming right now. They're so tight with their spending. Hey, why do we need 5 rolls of tissue when 3 does it just as well? Well, we need to,
Hey,
but
and AI
we'll
can
only
make it
save,
one.
yeah, we'll only save 60 cents. That's 60 cents per employee. They've had some nice games.
No, they haven't.
They have somewhat improved improved the hardware, but as far as
Eh.
like, it's really the same system that it was. And I just remembered another thing too that caught my mind. And this could be a fact of this old 5-year-old launch model. If you turn your PS5 on, and I would love to hear anyone see if this happens to you all in the comments. Please comment, because I know I can't be the only. If you turn your PS5 on and it boots up to the UI, the main menu, the welcome hub, whatever the hell, and you click a game, and I guess like you do it too fast, like the system hasn't fully booted itself up yet, it will sit there and pause. It'll almost seem like it's booting to boot into the load. I noticed one time I turned it on and it said couldn't find what you were looking for, and then
Hmm?
30 seconds later, the game loaded, and I was like, "Yo, is it
Oh
doing that because this
God.
is old? Is this trying to push me to a pro?" And I have yet to see like what is this? Yeah, no, I'm
But
in
you
the ghost.
see, I gave it a B minus, and I kinda shitted on them, so it's gonna look crazy when I give them my Xbox. But I listen, it's borderline C plus, B minus, but Imma stick with B minus just because that's what I initially went with, and Imma stay consistent, and I'm not gonna be moved. But yeah,
I
it
will not be moved. Mm.
but I fuck all these motherfuckers. Fuck Sony, fuck Microsoft, fuck all of them. At the end of the day, they just trying to make money, and hey, you're in the business to make money. I understand that, but you ain't gotta inconvenience me more than
Mm-hmm.
what I was inconvenienced last generation. Like, what the fuck? Make it
Mm-hmm.
make sense. But whatever.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, are you not entertained?